Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business brokers and intermediaries from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Steven Denny. He's a co-founder with Innovative Business Advisors. Steven, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. Honored that you would have us on.
Steven, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically, who are the types of clients that you specialize in working with?
Excellent. Thanks for that, Mark. We specialize in working with private business owners that have businesses that are generating between $1 and $50 million a year in annual revenues. And we service them three particular ways. First and foremost, we help teach them business finance using their numbers specifically in their business so that they can grow more profitable businesses. In addition to that, we teach them how to actually grow the value of their business over time. So it's not just running your business effectively and efficiently, it's also doing the things that make sure you're not eroding business value. And then we help them measure that business value through business valuation services. And then finally, when they are looking to grow either through strategic acquisitions or they're looking to sell and move on to the next phase of their life, we help them do that as well. So we do M&A services primarily for that group.
Terrific. So these business owners, they may be great at starting a business from scratch, growing that business, but how experienced are they in selling their business? What kind of experience have you found, and how prepared are they when they reach out to you when they finally are considering selling?
Very rarely prepared. Very rarely have they sold a business before. It's the very rare owner that has been through the sale process multiple times. Generally speaking, we have to educate them about that whole process, and most importantly, get them ready to go to market, which sometimes can take years to do that.
Yeah, speaking of which, how far in advance should people start preparing and planning to sell their business or exit? How much time do they need?
Well, to kind of lead into that a little bit, I mean, we now know conclusively that 100% of business owners are going to exit at some point in the future, right? They are all going to exit. And the ideal period of time would be a 5-year window. So start planning your exit 5 years ahead of time. And that allows you to really maximize the value in your company and also position yourself where you get to keep the greatest portion of the proceeds. So there are tax strategies that you can put in play that help you retain a significant portion of the transaction, but you can't do those things overnight. It takes time to put them in place.
One of the inspirations for this entire series is that lack of information out there and sort of that lack of knowledge. People aren't really talking about it. And I know the statistic says that over 50%, maybe 70% of more that businesses that do go on the market go unsold. Can you kind of talk about like some of the things that are lacking and what causes businesses to not sell? Where's the breakdown?
Yeah, I think IBBA says that over 80% of deals, even if they get agreed to a price, never end up closing. So basically, I think it's due to two different things. One is sellers that go on the market that aren't prepared for the process. So they go on the market and they haven't done all the work ahead of time to make sure that their business is ready to convey. And then they get into a due diligence process, or they agree to sell to somebody and they start walking through the process and they find out, oh gosh, there's too many obstacles to get this thing done. All their contracts would have to be canceled, or there's 100 different ways that could keep a deal from getting done, and they may encounter many of those. So I would say, a significant portion of the time, its seller is not as prepared as they think they are. And then secondarily, buyers. Many times, particularly on the small end of the spectrum, when you're talking about deals of 5 million or less, generally speaking, you may have a first-time buyer or a relatively inexperienced buyer as well. And the buyer may not be as prepared as they need to be, or they just, emotionally get to the point where they're not willing to put all the chips on the table, which very often happens when you have to go out and buy a business.
Steven, right now we are post-pandemic, and the question that are on a lot of people's minds is this a good time to sell a business. What's the market been like? What's the temperature like in your area?
Market's on fire. It's the best time to sell a business in the 17 years I've been doing this. Market valuations are very high, and there is a tremendous amount of activity. I've never seen so much activity going through a fall and winter season as we did this year. And from discussions with my peers, I find that to be universal. Valuations have crept up for good businesses. There were a lot of troubled businesses that have gone through a process as well. And many of those ended up in some form of a liquidation or a liquidation sale process. But there's a tremendous amount of capital chasing really good businesses. And I think we're at that point in time, we're at that inflection point where a lot of baby boomer owners are saying, look, I've been through a lot of business cycles, but this COVID cycle was like none other. And I am at an advanced stage of my life, and I'm ready to go sit on the sideline someplace. So we're seeing demand from both sides of the equation.
Now, that makes a lot of sense with the great resignation and a lot of folks saying, hey, let's go buy a business. Why are we going back to the cubicle? So that makes a lot of sense. Steven, what inspired you to get into this field and help business owners with their exits and selling their business? How did you get started?
Well, completely by accident. I started by working with business owners, helping them improve the operation of their company, and then found a guy that wanted to grow, wasn't able to grow on his own, and we ended up going out and using acquisition as a growth vehicle for him to dramatically grow his company. And frankly, Mark, I'd never done it before. I'd had some experience in the corporate world where I'd been a party to many acquisitions, but we walked through a deal together, and we actually ended up doing a couple of deals together, and I really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun at it, so it became a focus. And my partner and I came together. He was also a solo practitioner, and about almost a little more than 4 years ago now, we merged both of our practices together, and now we've got a team of a dozen folks and just continue to grow it.
Terrific. Before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask that you feel is important to share to a business owner that's considering selling their business in today's market?
Well, the thing I would say is that a lot of transactions happen internally where they actually hand the keys over to a trusted employee or to another family member. And I would say in those situations, it is equally as important, maybe even more important, to do the planning and succession process that you would do if you were going outside and going to market. And in those situations, when I say more, you typically may have a whole nother set of training that needs to take place for that person stepping up into the owner's roles. And I think the owners get snowblind being in those roles for so long that they forget that it's different than the people that work for them. And thus, if they're going to bring somebody up, either a family member or a key employee into that role, they never, in my experience, they very rarely take the time to really put together a training program for those folks to help them be successful. And that's the caution I would give them.
For business owners that are listening and considering selling their business, if they'd like to speak with you, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Well, they can go to Innovative BA, that's INNOVATIVEBA.com, and see our team and the various services that we provide. They can also go to CEO, the number 2, CEO.coach to learn about some of our training programs for business owners. And then finally, my partner and I are writing a series of books, and we've trademarked the title, You Don't Know What You Don't Know. And we're currently in our fourth book release this year. And you can go to www.youdon'tknowwhatyoudon'tknow.com and see our various book series. And then all of those will link to the various social media channels. And we're very prominent about putting our direct phone numbers and email addresses on our various sites as well. So relatively easy to get in touch with us.
Great URL. Steven, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Mark, thanks so much. It's been an honor to be with you today.
That was Steven Denny, co-founder at Innovative Business Advisors. This segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.